Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. Let us begin with a prayer and with the Psalm. Psalm 47. Oh, clap your hands, all you people. Shout to Elohim with the voice of triumph. For Yehovah Most High is terrible. He is the great King over all the earth. He shall subdue the people under us and the nations under our feet. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Yaakov, whom he loved, Selah. Elohim is gone up with a shout. Yehovah with the sound of a shofar. Sing praises to Elohim. Sing praises to our King. Sing praises, for Elohim is the King of all the earth. Sing your praises with understanding. Elohim reigns over the nations. Elohim sits upon his holy throne. The princes of the people are gathered together, even the people of the Elohim of Abraham. For the shields of the earth belong to him. He is greatly exalted. Psalm 51. Have loving kindness upon me, O Elohim, according to your loving kindness, according to the multitude of your tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my transgression. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my transgression is ever before me. Against you only have I transgressed, and done this evil in your sight, that you might be justified when you speak, and be clear when you judge. Behold, I was both brought forth in iniquity, and in transgression did my mother conceive me. Behold, you desire truth in the inner parts and the hidden parts. You shall make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which you have broken may rejoice. Hide your face from my transgression, and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a right ruach within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your holy ruach from me. Restore to me the joy of your rescue, and uphold me with your noble ruach. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and transgressors shall be converted to you. Rescue me from blood guilt, O Elohim. You are Elohim of my rescue, and my tongue shall sing aloud of your righteousness. O Yehovah, open you my lips, and my mouth shall show forth your praise. For you desire not sacrifice, else would I give it. You delight not in burnt offering. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken ruach, a broken and contrite heart. O Elohim, you will not despise. Do good in your pleasure, in your good pleasure to Zion. You build the walls of Jerusalem. Then shall you be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offering and whole burnt offering. Then shall they offer bullocks upon your altar. Psalm 67. Psalm 67. Elohim be merciful to us and increase us, and cause his face to shine upon us, Selah, that your way may be known upon earth, your saving health upon all nations. Let the people lift up and make you known, O Elohim. Let all the people praise you. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For you shall judge the people with righteousness, and govern the nations upon earth, Selah. Let the people lift up and make you known, O Elohim. Let all the people praise you. Then shall the earth yield an increase. And Elohim, even our own Elohim, shall be beneficial to us. Elohim shall increase us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him. Thank you, Abba. I want to thank you this week for this week that has gone forth, and for the things that have happened. We thank you for the food, thank you for the clothing, thank you for the shelter. May your name be praised forever and ever. And Father, thank you for there was an earthquake in this country where I am, and thankfully no one was hurt, no one died. We thank you. We ask you for your protection, for your blessings, for all the nations, not just here. We ask for mercy, we ask for protection, we ask for assistance where assistance is needed. Thank you, and may your name be praised forever and ever. Okay, so our Parshas this week is Parsha's Tsav, and as you know that we have just flicked over to the new year, so Happy New Year, Biblical New Year, which began March 21, and according to the Hanukkah calendar. And by the way, the Hanukkah calendar that I put out last week, unfortunately, some mistakes had come into the calendar, and I didn't notice at the time, but it was pointed out to me, and I looked at it, and we had to then go back. Then I had to get that calendar remade and all the mistakes correct. In fact, we have to just remake the whole thing because there were a few dating issues. Dates were not correlating to the Gregorian calendar, and as you know, next year I believe is a leap year, and with that I have to kind of adjust that leap year as well. And so now the calendar is fixed. It is on the site. Those of you who asked for the calendar, I sent you the copy in email, and if anybody else needs a calendar direct in their email, either you can go to the Abrahamic-faith.info website or forever-israel.com and get the calendar from the main page, and it's also under Ask the Rabbi, so you should be able to find it there and download it. So our chapter begins in the book of Leviticus, and we are at chapter 6 verse 8, and it begins with, and Yud-Heh-Wah spoke to Moshe, saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the instruction of the burnt offering. It is a burnt offering because of the burning upon the altar all night to the morning, and the fire of the altar shall be burning in it. And the Kohen shall put on his linen garment, and his linen undergarments shall he put upon his flesh, and take up the ashes which the fire has consumed with the burnt offering on the altar, and he shall put them beside the altar. And he shall put off his garments and put on other garments, and carry forth the ashes outside the camp to a clean place. And the fire upon the altar shall be burning in it. It shall not be put out. And the Kohen shall burn wood on it every morning, and lay the burnt offering in arrangement. And he shall burn thereon the fat of the shalom offering. The fire shall ever be burning upon the altar. It shall never go out. And this is the instruction of the grain offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before Yud-Heh-Wah, before the altar, and he shall take it out in is a handful of the flour of grain offering, and of the oil there, and all the frankincense which is upon the grain offering, and shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor, even the memorial of it to Yud-Heh-Wah. And the remainder there shall Aaron and his sons eat with the matzah, unleavened bread. Shall it be eaten in the holy place, in the court of the tent of the appointed time they shall eat it. It shall not be baked with leaven. I have given it to them for their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is most holy, as is the sin offering, and as a trespass offering. All the males among the children of Aaron shall eat of it. It shall be a statute forever in your generations concerning the offerings of Yud-Heh-Wah made by fire. Everyone that touches them shall become holy. And Yud-Heh-Wah spoke to Moshe, saying, this is the offering of Aaron and of his sons, which they shall offer to Yud-Heh-Wah in the day when he is anointed, the 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a grain offering perpetual, half of it in the morning and half there at night. In a pan it shall be made with oil, and when it is baked, you shall bring it in, and the baked pieces of the grain offering shall you offer for a sweet savor to Yud-Heh-Wah. All the Kohen of his sons that is anointed in his stead shall offer it. It is a statute forever to Yud-Heh-Wah. It shall be wholly burnt. It shall be wholly burnt. Okay. So let me now just look at what is actually happening over here, and let us look. So what is the central theme here? The central theme here is not so much what sacrifices are being given. I mean, you might say the central theme is the sacrifices, the different sacrifices, the grain offering, the lambs, the calf, and so on and so forth, and what you do with them, the korbanot. So here it appears that God gave instructions to Moses about the different types of laws on the different offerings of the animals and the meal offerings that became a central feature to the service in the sanctuary or later in the temple. And as you can note over here, the interesting part is this, that God says that this is a statute forever. Okay? The question would then be, if this was a statute forever, I mean, we were at that point in a tabernacle, in a tent, and from the tent we went to King Solomon's building of the first temple, and then from King Solomon we went to the second temple, the repair and rebuild of the first temple, which was done in Herod's time, and then from the second temple was destroyed, and then from there we are now waiting for the third temple. So there's a lot of debate and there's a lot of discussion. And one of the debates is that will there be a third temple? Now, if you listen to the Christian side, then they say that there's going to be no third temple, it's just allegorical, and so on. So there will be a millennium, and so on and so forth. Back when we were going to hit 2000, year 2000, that's what, 23 years ago, when the 2000 was going to be up, I can guarantee you at that time, we're talking about 23 years ago, at that time, everybody and his dog were expecting Jesus to return on the earth and start the millennium. But did that happen? It never happened. Okay, what happened after that? Well, you had Christian pastors writing books, telling people rapture is coming, and we're going to go to Jerusalem and all this. No such thing happened. I remember in 2012, then there was a lot of talk of what you call it, blood moons. Blood moons were being seen, and then again, once again, it really riled. And it really riled especially in America. I remember there was a lot of, stuff going on in America in 2012. Oh, the blood moons, and there was different pastors writing books. I remember a pastor down not far from San Antonio was writing books about the blood moon and how it means that Jesus is coming back soon, and it's going to be a significant time, and this, a lot of different things are going to happen. So again, on Christian TV and other stations, like similar stations, TBN, God TV, etc., there's a lot of talk of, again, blood moons are seen, this is significant, and I had some students come to me, ask me, what do you think? And I said, I think nothing of it. It's business as usual, forget it. What those guys are talking about is totally erroneous. No such thing is going to occur. And guess who was wrong? Guess who was wrong and who was right? The result is before you. So now, we're in 2023. So what is significant in this portion of the Parsha, I would say, not so much the sacrifices, because the sacrifices were done when there was no temple standing, and when there was a temple standing, and now we wait for a third temple. So, like I said, the book of Ezekiel is quite clear that there will be another building, which of course we call the temple, and that will stand in what is termed the millennial kingdom. Okay, in the millennium. We don't know exactly what date. We are given no dates over there, but we are told that there will be a structure, and there will be priesthood, and they will again resume sacrifices. Because Christians wanted to focus on Jesus, Christian pastors, they had set dogma that it's only Jesus and Jesus only saves, so they had to deny the temple, and they had to deny future sacrifices. Not only did they deny that, their denial also impacted God's word in this book that I'm reading today, that they had to deny that as well. Like it said, it's forever. Well, then guess if there's no temple and there's no priesthood after Jesus, okay, then that means that God lied. There was no sacrifices forever, correct? One would assume that God is lying, that no, God made a mistake. God said forever, and all the generations of Aaron's sons, means all the priesthood down the line. Well, if there was no sons of Aaron, or if there was going to be no further temples, and that means no further sacrifices, so that only satisfied Christian theology up to the time when Jesus made claims of being a king or not being a king, and being the Messiah, and so on and so forth. Whether Jesus directly said it or whether he said it indirectly, he made certain claims. None of those claims came to pass. Okay, so none of those claims were verified. In other words, he did deny that he's not a king of this world. He said he's a king of another world. Okay, so then, he didn't say he's going to erect a temple. He didn't say any of that. But anyway, Christian theology posits that he's the king, he is this and he is that. A lot of the things that Christian theology said, none of them came to pass. They were all wrong on that aspect. And they still are to this day. Now, the Messiah of Israel, whoever that person is, whether it's supposedly Jesus according to Christians or another king to come through the line of David, is yet to be. We're yet to experience that event. And that is yet future. That we can agree on. Rest, I think, is commentary and conjecture. So what we are told in this Parsha, what I feel, what I see, the common theme over here is that there is fire. Fire is involved and sacrifices. Now, of course, fire is the common theme. Okay, and a lot of cultures today that you will see, fire is a common theme in practically every home. You light a fire of some kind to cook. So fire seems to be a common theme in this, and then different kinds of sacrifices are offered, and then they are used to do the necessary service to God. We see here the meat and the bread aspect, where meat and bread, like grain offerings, meat offering in the sense of animals, are used to illustrate a point. And then we also note that here Aaron was inaugurated as the high priest, and so were his sons, and the instruction was forever. It wasn't, there was no instruction. I didn't read any instruction there that said that the priesthood will expire at a certain date or a certain time or a certain event in the future. None of those things were stated in this particular portion of the Torah. Now, let us look at what some of the rabbis said in the past regarding certain things. Here it says, "And God spoke to Moses, saying, Command Aaron and his son, this is the law of the ascending offering." The expression Tsav, which is for command, implies an urging for now and for future generations. This is, by the way, according to Rashi. Rashi was a French rabbi, and according to Rashi, remember, Rashi is writing when there is no temple, and even Rashi knew that this is for all future generations. In other words, those to come after Rashi is gone, and right up to the very end. And then let's see what Maimonides says. That he says the King Mashiach will arise and restore the kingdom of David to its glory of old, to its original sovereignty. He will build the holy temple and gather the dispersed of Israel. In his times, all the laws of the Torah will be reinstated as before. The sacrifices will be offered, the sabbatical year and the jubilee year instituted as outlined in the Torah. So right now, we do not have the sabbatical year, and we do not have the jubilee year. Jubilee year, as you know, is 49 plus 150 years. Sabbatical years every 7 years. So we do not have those two events taking place right now because the tribes are dispersed. If we really, all of us, if we looked at Israel's land today, we might say there's only 2 tribes there. Maybe there's some other members of some other tribes there. There are a few. But by and large, you might say that tribe of Judah and Benjamin in some format is in Israel. But other than that, the other tribes, all the other tribes, like tribe of Dan, tribe of Gad, the various other tribes that existed, tribe of Asher, they're not there technically. Yeah, you may say there's 1 or 2, 3 members of those tribes, but the majority of the tribes are still out and about. They're still scattered. So Maimonides as a rabbi that basically said that these, when the king, when the Mashiach comes, when he comes, he will not only build the holy temple, means the third temple, and also he said that he will gather the tribes back, and then there will be a Torah government. Right now in Israel, there is a coalition government going on. Benjamin Netanyahu is the prime minister, stroke president, if you want to call it president. He is a prime minister, and so Israel does not right now have a Torah government and does not have the Messiah. It does have a Messiah of sorts. You could say Benjamin Netanyahu is a Messiah, a king figure. But it does not operate on the Torah laws, and it did not say, oh, go ahead, build the third temple and call all the people back. No, it didn't do any of that. So therefore, that prophecy is yet future and not yet happened. So this we see from here that, the rabbis, they even saw, these are, 11th century, 12th century, 13th century rabbis, even they saw that things will be in the future but are not yet. Now let's apply this to Jesus' time. When Jesus was around 2,000 years ago, did he build the third temple? Answer is no. Did he set the Torah government? Answer is no. Did we see peace in Israel or around Israel, the rest of the world? The answer is no. So one of the criteria that is given for the Messiah is that when he comes, there will be peace in the world. Nations will give up their swords, and nations will not fight anymore. Do we see that? Well, right now there's a war raging between Russia and Ukraine, and we do not see peace. So clearly, I'm not being biased. I'm not saying in favor or against. I'm simply saying that by the merit, if you look at Jesus is coming and going, and whatever belief system Christians hold today of his return, that none of those things, in other words, let alone the peace does not exist. Therefore, just using the peace statement, Jesus, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever you look at it, he did not fulfill that prophecy. So therefore, when the Jews say that he's not the Messiah, I do not think that they are wrong about that. They are pretty right that he certainly did not fulfill the requirement. Therefore, he is ruled out as a Messiah, as the Messiah. However, he could be a Messiah. Okay, he could be a Messiah of a Messiah, a pious man, a rabbi, a righteous man, etc. Or he fits all those things, but it does not fit the Messiah. Okay, so that's without being too biased about it and too not to be ignorant of the facts on the ground are that he did not fulfill just one. I'm just giving you one, and there are other prophecies. He did not fulfill that one prophecy of peace. And I wouldn't argue with Christians, because Christians cannot even answer that peace one. Let Christians answer the peace prophecy. Where is the peace prophecy? Why isn't it fulfilled? Well, they might say, when Jesus comes back. Well, yeah, when he comes back, then we'll talk about it. Right now, you have nothing to talk about, so let's not even waste our time, and let's carry on where we are. So now, this is what is said about the altar. The location of the altar is very exactly defined, is never to be changed. It is a commonly held tradition that the place where David and Solomon built the altar on the threshing floor of Araunah is the very place where Abraham built an altar and bound Isaac upon it. This is where Noah built an altar when he came out of the ark. This is where Cain and Abel brought their offerings. This is where Adam, the first man, offered a korban when he was created. In other words, korban means an offering, sacrifice, and it is from the earth of the place that he was created. Thus the sages have said, man was formed from the place of his atonement. Okay, this is according to Maimonides. So now this is something else we read about the temple. It says 10 miracles were performed for our forefathers in the holy temple. No woman ever miscarried because of the smell of the holy meat. The holy meat never spoiled. Never was a fly seen in the slaughterhouse. Never did the high priest have an accidental seminal discharge on Yom Kippur. The rains did not extinguish the wood fire burning upon the altar. The wind did not prevail over the column of smoke rising from the altar. In other words, the smoke went straight up. It didn't go left or right. No disqualifying problem was ever discovered in the Omer offering. The 2 loaves or the showbread, they stood crowded but had ample space in which to prostrate themselves. All the people stood crowded, but they have enough space to completely lie down in the temple. Never did a snake or scorpion cause injury in Jerusalem, and no man ever said to his fellow, "My lodging in Jerusalem is too cramped for me." This is according to the ethics of the fathers. So, what are we saying? We are saying the temple was a special place. The temple was a holy place. In fact, even the food, all these offerings that came to the temple, even that was extremely holy. And some of this food, some of these offerings were only allowed to the priesthood. In other words, it wasn't other than the shalom offering. The shalom offering you could, if a person gave a shalom offering, he could call his neighbors, street people, and they could eat over there on the day. But the other food, the burnt offering, the other offerings that were given, only the priests were allowed to eat it. And it wasn't given to other people because it was considered holy food. Imagine those people who ate that food, what kind of spirituality they would have had. So, my point is this, that a lot can be said or done about, the ancient past. But one thing is for sure, that God set a premise, God set some standards, and according to those standards are the people of Israel supposed to live. And we thank God that He's set us some examples, some great examples. We thank God that He is going to rebuild the 3rd temple. It doesn't matter exactly where it is, because there's a lot of discussion, debate, whether it's in Jerusalem, whether it's right at the place presently the Western Wall, or whether it's at another place, down somewhere else within that vicinity. However, like I said, that is all a debate and discussion, but we do know that in some time in future there will be a temple. So, let us pray and let us, wait in anticipation for the King Messiah and for the temple and for the restoration of the 12 tribes of Israel. We give thanks to God that He's given us this time period, that we are alive, that we are seeing history in front of our eyes, things that the prophets have written, things that God has written through the prophets, through the scribes, and that we can read those things and we can appreciate and we can give thanks. So I want to give thanks to God that I'm alive today to see and experience all these things, Baruch Hashem, and I'm pretty sure that all you will be as well. So continue to serve God, continue to petition, continue to give thanks to God, and God may be with you all this day and forevermore. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Sabbath and the rest of the week. Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom.